Um, it's one of the first times I've been on fucking video in months. About 4 months ago or so, 4.5 months ago. Looking back, it's actually probably a hell of a lot longer than that. Um, it's going to be hard for me to kind of wrap up and talk about and stuff like that because I'm still somewhat in it, you know? So just excuse the pauses, but there is um, a deeper fucking story going on here. A lot of emotion, a lot of mental and emotional exhaustion coming out of the physical exhaustion right now. It's been a fucking spiritual journey, um, been a faith based one. You name it, man. It has been pretty fucking wild. I've fell ill about 4.5 months ago. That was kind of the start of it. Uh, Middle of January was the fucking like the fucking head that just lasted for like a good fucking couple of months. Uh, I don't even know what came first, where it started really. Back in December, I had a lot of inflammation in my stomach. As I recall back a few months before that, I had a lot of inflammation in my stomach. Um, I would say we hit the end of December and I took a week off at the end between Christmas and New Year's. And myself and my girlfriend, Andrea, went to the White Mountains and decided to hike. And one of those days, and what I could tell you, man, is that, this hike was, it shouldn't have been as difficult as it was. And looking back, even in the last few years of hiking, it got progressively harder for me, you know? But we hit a fucking hike and got to the top of one mountain. We were about to scale down the backside of it and hit a valley and up another mountain and got to the top of it and started going around and I just didn't trust my body. It's the first time in my fucking life I didn't trust my body. And it was really, really nerve wracking for me. Um, I went into fear mode, panic mode, like I'd never done before. I mean, taking a look at the space that I was in and I was trying to hike down, and at any other point in time, I would have just fucking jumped, dug my foot in, ran a little bit, caught my ground, and I'd be good to go. And I could visualize and see that all in my head, but I couldn't do it. We scaled back down where we came from. We didn't do it. And I just kept saying, man, I don't fucking trust it. My legs were shaking in a way that they weren't shaking before. I could feel things were just wrong. A few days after that, I went to physical therapy and, discovered that my glutes were pretty tight and ended up having some dry needling done to my left glute. Within a couple of weeks of that, man, it was like a cascading effect of like loosening up one side and bang, the other side took over and compensated for all the fucking weaknesses um, that was there and was sitting there for a long time, I guess. Um, I ended up in the hospital in mid January. First time I was admitted. There's another fucking 7 or 8 times on top of that between then and about 3.5 weeks ago or so, um, for various fucking reasons. That first time that I was admitted into the hospital, I had massive inflammation in my right side of my gut. I was thinking everything horrible, worst case fucking scenario. I'm dying. I'm not coming out of this alive. My God. Like looking back even too in December, I was waking up at about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning with massive, massive fear, massive anxiety. I was getting up and checking the doors, checking everything. And I was like, where is this coming from? I've never been this afraid in my life, you know? And Ended up with in the hospital, the blood tests, urinalysis. Not to mention that I was at the doctor's prior to this, and she did a bunch of blood work and urinalysis and all that stuff, and everything was coming back great. There was no infection, no nothing in my fucking body. She's trying to throw some fucking anxiety pills at me, and that's about it, you know? So in the hospital, they did blood work, they did urinalysis work. They did it twice over the course of, oh my God, 36, 38 hours or something like that. They did a CAT scan that evening within 4 hours. They did another CAT scan with color contrast 24 hours later. I've had ultrasounds on my liver. I've been admitted to the hospital, I think, 4 times for thinking I was dying from a heart attack. Major chest pains and stuff like that. I've had troponin tests left and right, blood work. No, nothing that would show my EKGs were fucking clean. I was in the hospital 3 more times after that. Um, having one more CAT scan, more ultrasounds on different parts of my fucking body, more blood work, more urine work, uh, X-rays up the fucking wazoo, man, from left hip all the way up to left shoulder, cross, down, middle, all that shit. Had a barium test where they flip you up on the table and do an upper GI barium test. Um, that sucked. That was one of the fucking worst tests I've ever experienced in my fucking life. Um, my gut just sucked. I was having a lot of fucking issues. I couldn't eat. I had massive amounts of anxiety that came out of nowhere. I had what was called POTS, postural tachycardia syndrome. Depending on how I laid or how I sat up or how I stood, my heart would just fucking race. I would get massive anxiety. My palms and everything would get sweaty and shit like that. Why am I telling you guys all this? One, I need to get it out of my system because it's cathartic and I don't want to hold on to it anymore. And I've tried to actually over the last few weeks sitting down and recording this fucking video. And every time I did, it brought up a lot of emotions for me. And this is the first time that I'm trying to detach myself from the emotions that occurred and just pay attention to what happened, you know? And it's not so much important for me to examine what happened, but it's very important for me to get this out of my system. And the other reason is because I've talked to a lot of people that have experienced 70, 80, 90% of the things that I've experienced. Um, I couldn't regulate my, back in February, it hit all of a sudden where I couldn't regulate my nervous system. I was cold all the time. I mean, my feet were cold, my hands were cold, everything was fucking cold. Um, for some of you that are looking at this now, you probably see a thinner face. I've lost 44 pounds since December. There was a point where I couldn't get enough calories into my system to save my life because of the amount of anxiety that was occurring. And my family members, even my girlfriend. And look, I don't blame anybody at this point because my symptoms were so widespread that like my left hip hurt. They thought it was appendicitis. My entire gut system hurt. They thought it was this. This side hurt. I was having chest pains. I was having this. I was having that. So, I was getting fucking little pings to the head. And even as I sit here, depending on the position that I'm in, I'm still getting some referred pain. And I'll get to that and stuff like that. So I'm still in it. Is, the barium fucking test that I had was the worst test, as I mentioned. What that discovered was it gave me a little bit of an answer to some stuff. I had major reflux with esophageal spasming, and I got a small hiatal hernia. So that's what they found, but they didn't find anything else. In 3 CAT scans, nothing, right? I mean, in the upcoming week, even with recording this video, I'm about to close out a chapter in my life. And that's, I think, why I'm recording this video is because I'm solidifying the closing out of this chapter and just going through the motions of getting the remaining parts of these tests where, they're doing an MRI on my cervical spine because of, the nerve sensations, the back of the head, and I've been tested and they're like, we don't see any neurological stuff going on, but let's just do an MRI just to be on the safe side and see if anything is pinching in there. So that's on Tuesday coming up. On Wednesday, I have my urology appointment. On Thursday, I have my GI specialist. And on Thursday, I prep for my endoscopy and colonoscopy on Friday. And it's the same doctor that I'm meeting with on Thursday, the GI specialist that's doing that procedure. The following Monday, oh, not to mention that Sunday is Easter, right? Um, and then the following Monday, I have my echo stress test on my heart. Cardiologist wants to rule out everything, right? And so do I at this point. And then on Tuesday, so, 5, 6, 7, 4, 6 days worth of testing within 8 days. I have an allergist appointment that last meeting. And that's just to rule shit out. Back in December, January, I was trying to eat and I was choking on the food. I mean, like my body just didn't want it. It was literally choking me out. As I mentioned, I couldn't regulate my nervous system. And luckily, I had a good support team around me with my business partners and the modalities that they were using. And I'm working with a no crack chiropractor. I've done plenty of breath work with Matt, plenty of Reiki work with Courtney, the no crack chiropractor, Colleen. I mean, I got a PT who's working on the physical components of things now and doing some lymphatic drainage and some mobility work and stuff, to loosen a lot of different things up that were constricted. I don't even think that's the fucking full scale part of everything that I went through, but it's really, I'm just gonna cut it and put it in there and basically be like, that's in a nutshell what the fuck happened to me. I don't have any answers right now. I don't have a fucking clue what happened. I can only assume that I spent years in chronic stress and fight or flight without even realizing it. And last year was a super stressful year. It was a great year in business, but it was super stressful. And I think I just did a really good job at hiding it. And due to the fact that I did a really good job hiding it, my body didn't. My body remembered everything. See, back in November, my cat passed away. That death hit me like a fucking freight train. I think worse than maybe some of the deaths that I've had in my family from relatives and stuff. And I think that was because that little dude was like my best buddy. He was it. I could depend on him when I got home. I could depend on him being there. I knew he was there. It was just this trusting, loving, unconditional relationship that I had. And yeah, I'm even touching areas in my body right now that I'm feeling certain little things and stuff like that. I think it's fascia. You know, look, if you guys haven't read the book, read it. Body Keeps the Score, because even when you don't, your fucking body's doing it. Um, I obviously stored a lot of emotions and deep rooted ancestral trauma in my body for a very long period of time. And there's a point where your body's like a database and you might have a terabyte or a gigabyte or whatever available space. And when that shit is gone, guess what? It's got nowhere to go. And every time, I'm not gonna say a lot of time, most of the time, fucking every time, guess what happens? It manifests itself as a physical illness. It manifests itself physically. It's got nowhere to go. It's got to come out somehow, right? And that's what it did to me. And my fascia was storing so much emotion. My organs were storing a ton of emotion. Between January and now, my liver was detoxing so much shit that was inside there that my test in January was clean. February, it wasn't clean twice. And just 3.5 weeks ago, it was much cleaner. Not perfect yet, but close to damn fucking perfect than it was in February. So, that tells me that I'm in a much better space. I got a lot more color on my face. I can regulate my system. And that's due to the fact that I'm doing a lot of fucking things right now. even with what I said with doing breath work and doing Reiki and energy work and no crack chiropractic, spinal energetic work, guys, fucking finding the patterns in your back um, from your spine and where it goes and how, I mean, it's the command center of your fucking body, dude, energetically as well as physically. And we don't fucking get that. Um, so when I said that my body was failing me and I couldn't trust it, it couldn't trust me. And I didn't do right by it. You know, I didn't do right by it because I stored way over the maximum allowed of trauma and stress. And this is coming from somebody who does this work for a living and has done a lot of fucking deep trauma and stress work on himself. So that tells you the layers that exist, the fucking absolute depth of layers that exist in there. Yeah. My diet today, clean. I haven't had processed food in fucking almost 4 months. And I mean it. No sugar, no processed food, no junk, no soda, no nothing. My diet is clean. Fruits, vegetables, protein, lean proteins, olive oils, good fats, good sources of carbohydrates with a good amount of protein in those as well. You know, spot on, clean as fuck. It's a big part of, you know, my coming back is getting that nutrition on board so that my body can heal and do what it needs to do. If you guys, if I did this video about 2 months ago, even 3 months ago, I wouldn't be walking around. I'd have no fucking clue what was happening. Um, I'd go from periods of being gray. Like my kid didn't even want to come see his dad because he was so afraid of what I look like that it horrified him. It scared a lot of people. It scared the fuck out of me. I still got these tests next week, but ultimately, I don't need the tests at this point to tell me I'm good. If it was something earth shattering, I don't think I'd feel better. I don't think I'd get better. I don't think I'd be talking to you guys here. And I was finally able to make this video without fucking getting super emotional about it. Point I'm getting at is regardless of how much work you've done on yourself, and look, there's a lot of you that even haven't even started doing work on yourselves. Just understand that there are layers that you have to go through to get to some of the deepest parts of yourself. See, back in December, I started saying, even earlier than that, about a year, 2 years ago now, I started saying that my faith in God was increasing. And I wanted to start to give back in certain ways within spiritual communities, spiritual church communities, church communities. But before you can do anything like that, ultimately what needs to happen is a massive cleansing. I feel like that's what I've been going through. Massive cleansing of my physical, my emotional, my mental, my spiritual, you name it. I've been clearing everything out. So if you're in the fucking dark right now, which I was, just know there's a fucking way out. We're here to help you. Reach out. Reach out because I've been lucky enough, like I said, to have a huge support team in my corner to take care of me when I was down and out. It's time to repay. Thank you.